In 2.5 years of war, the front has barely shifted. Thousands dead, billions spent, and talk of victory. But who is actually winning? Russia advances and Ukraine retreats, yet nothing decisive changes. Is this a stalemate, the end, or just a calm before the storm? And now ask yourself this one, seemingly simple question. Who is actually winning the war in Ukraine? The answer isn't only about territory and might even surprise you. Welcome to Beyond Borders, where we reveal hidden connections, power plays, and world-shaping conflicts. In the next few minutes, we'll take a look at what things are really like in Ukraine. Who has the upper hand on the battlefield? We'll also examine the situation more broadly. We'll cover current front developments, both sides' tactics, loss estimates, and Russia's advanced speed. And finally, who is actually profiting from this war? The Allies, the powers behind the scenes, or just chaos? The current frontline situation, eastern Ukraine, is in flames. Russian forces are pushing in strategic areas. The main pressure is now in Donbass, where Russians use their artillery and numbers to their advantage. We can't forget about drones, which have become a key component of this war. The goal is to gain control over the rest of the Donetsk region and advance toward Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, the last major cities under Ukrainian control in this area. Russian troops are advancing very slowly, averaging just 150 to 200 meters per day, analysts say. And now, hold on. If Moscow kept up this pace, it would take them 10 to 15 years to capture all of Ukraine. This isn't a blitzkrieg, it's a slow, bloody crawl. Estonian military intelligence summarized it in a sentence you should remember. Every kilometer that Russia conquers costs them 70 lives. 70 soldiers lost in just 1 kilometer. It's a brutal meat grinder. Listen closely. These numbers may surprise you. Center for Strategic and International Studies in the British Ministry of Defense estimate, Russia may have lost 600,000 to 950,000 soldiers. Of those, possibly up to 250,000 dead. Ukraine's estimated losses are about 400,000, with 60,000 to 100,000 soldiers killed. It should be emphasized that all these numbers are only estimates. Both sides, Russia and Ukraine, do not officially disclose their losses. What is certain is this is Europe's bloodiest conflict since World War II. What about territory? Since early 2024, Russia has taken about 500 square kilometers. That's a fact. But what does that mean? Is it a lot or a little? We'll get to the answer to that question later. For now, just keep it in mind, but later I'll reveal an even more shocking number that will better show what real territorial gains Russia has made since 2022. I guarantee you'll be surprised. It will reveal the true extent of Russia's advance, which daily front reports hide. These gains are scattered, a few villages here, abandoned fields there. Since early 2024, Ukraine has had to leave several small towns and many villages, but no major city, no clear victory. Battles haven't just been fought on the ground for a long time. Recently, Russia has escalated drone and missile attacks on civilians, energy infrastructure, railways, and hospitals. Recently, during one attack, it launched more than 700 drones at Ukraine and also added missiles. That's already an amount that Ukrainian air defense can't handle. Kyiv strikes deep in Russia, hitting weapon depots, refineries, and logistics. And so the war turns into a bloody marathon. No one is running fast, no one is gaining a decisive advantage, and every step forward is paid for with blood. More and more analysts today are talking not about victory, but about attrition. A war where each meter of land costs lives, and after over 3 years, is still unclear who is winning. The Russian tactic can be summed up in 4 words: advance at any cost. Moscow ignores losses, using outdated military tactics reminiscent of last century's wars. Massive artillery strikes, waves of infantry, and using units as expendable resources. In some areas, Russian soldiers advance under fire, without proper cover, just to gain a few meters of ground. The soldiers in the trenches call it a meat grinder. Conscripts, often from remote areas, fight without training or proper leadership and are not elite forces. They are bodies meant to fill the space, and when they fall, others will come. This model sounds cynical, and that's exactly what it is. But for the Russians, it has proven to be what works best for them. No modern mechanized offensives where armored units maneuver to make the most of their advantage. No surprising breakthrough, just endless waves of cannon fodder. Drones hover everywhere, hundreds, thousands, watching, destroying, killing on the front. They also bomb Ukrainian cities. Russia has learned from the first years of the war. It acquired technology from Iran, which it modified and expanded. Swarms of kamikaze drones now attack military targets as well as civilian infrastructure, energy facilities, and cities. Just in July 2025, Russia carried out more than 150 drone attacks on Ukrainian territory, including hospitals, transformer stations, and railway hubs. Missiles add to the aerial terror. Although Moscow used much of its arsenal early in the war, production has resumed, often aided by Iran and North Korea. Missile attacks have become routine, unpredictable, precise, meant to intimidate and exhaust the Ukrainian air defense. That's why many now say Russia is fighting not just for territory, but mainly to break the enemy's will. A basic algorithm is used: artillery preparation followed by small assault groups advancing. If they face strong resistance, they retreat, regroup, and try again days later. This system is slow, ruthless, and based on the idea that human lives are cheap. Classical military theory says it's insane, but in practice, it slowly works. Not due to genius, but to inertia and sheer numbers. War run like an industrial process. You make ammunition, send people to the front, and if they die, it doesn't matter. Others will replace them. We're not done yet. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It'll help it reach more people. If you'd like to support my work, you can contribute through thanks. Thank you. Let's keep going. Ukrainian tactics focus on holding, exhausting, and asymmetry, while the other side uses a different strategy: not advancing, but holding, not outnumbering, but exhausting the enemy. Ukraine can't afford to waste men like Russia does. There were tactical retreats, defensive lines, sabotage, and targeted strikes. Ukrainians realized that direct combat against a stronger force would be disastrous, so they're stalling for time. They work to slow the Russian advance, build new defenses, and reposition units before collapse. They're losing territory, but they're protecting what's more important: manpower. Their goal is to inflict maximum Russian losses at minimal cost. And at the same time, they're carrying out asymmetric strikes, sometimes deep behind enemy lines. Drone attacks on refineries, ammunition depots, airports, and training camps. The goal isn't to seize territory, but to weaken the Russian war machine. Moreover, Ukraine is attacking on Russian territory more and more often, not just symbolically, but with a tactical goal: to destroy infrastructure, cause panic, and divert attention and strength. In July alone, Ukrainian drones hit more than 10 targets on the territory of the Russian Federation, including important railway junctions, radar stations, and fuel depots. This strategy has one name: asymmetric resistance. Ukraine lacks numbers but has determination, terrain, expertise, and Western intelligence support. A small country stands against a massive army. Still, it destroys depots, strikes commanders, and disrupts plans. Ukrainian tactics are cautious, sometimes even painfully defensive, but they work because every day they hold the front is a victory. And every month that Russia fails to achieve a breakthrough is proof that David is still standing. But here's the catch: the defense, resistance, and war effort all rely on one fragile support: Western aid. Ukraine today is almost completely dependent on supplies of ammunition, finances, intelligence, and technology from the United States and Europe. Without that, its defense would likely collapse quickly. Who's winning? Looking at the map, it's clear Russia is advancing while Ukraine retreats. Recently, Moscow gained territories in Donetsk, likely including parts of VR, and is moving closer to Pokrovsk. The front may not be moving dramatically, but it is moving, and the direction is obvious. The Russians have taken the initiative, choosing attack locations and setting the pace, while Ukraine must respond, with exhausted troops, low ammo, and uncertain Western support. Their defense fell back to the third line in some areas, and concerns about a breakthrough are rising. And then there's the personnel crisis. Ukraine has a huge problem with soldiers. After more than 3 years of war, the units are exhausted, and many combat-ready battalions are understaffed. Recruitment of new soldiers is stagnating. The willingness to go to the front is no longer the same as in the first months of the invasion. Many men are hiding, have emigrated, or are wounded or dead. This is evident at the front. For example, a report stated that 8 men are defending a 900-meter section, which is very few. That's why Ukraine is lowering the draft age, seeking volunteers, recalling veterans, and automating logistics to reduce the frontline burden. But without enough people, it's hard to hold back the enemy. It's not just about weapons, it's about the hands that hold them. Russia currently leads in the information war. They portray themselves to the public as finally conquering, advancing, and succeeding. Putin poses with soldiers in the Kremlin as newspapers celebrate captured villages. Meanwhile, in the West, fatigue, frustration, and political debates continue over further aid to Ukraine. And then there are the numbers. The Russian army currently has more soldiers, artillery, and ammunition on the front than Ukraine. Russia uses about 5 times more shells daily than its opponent. While their soldiers' quality differs, their numbers are enough to hold the line for now. If war were judged by territory and shots fired, Russia would be winning. In the short term, it's clear Moscow holds the upper hand, steadily and dangerously, though not dramatically or irreversibly. Like a mill that grinds slowly but steadily. Unless you block it with a stone, it will grind everything. And now hold on, because what I'm about to show you in a moment will turn your perspective on the whole course of the war upside down. Strategic perspective. Now I'll show you 2 maps that display the situation on the Ukrainian front. Take a good look at them. Here's the first one. This was the Ukrainian front on December 1, 2022. In the first year of the war, soon after Ukrainians freed Kherson and the right bank of the Dnipro River. The second is from July 30, 2025. Do they look almost identical to you? You're right, that's the point. Now please focus your attention on the area outlined in red. Do you know what you're looking at? Sit down if you're not already seated. What I'm about to tell you might shock you. This is the largest continuous Russian territorial gain in more than 2.5 years of war. From the beginning of December 2022 to the end of July 2025. Yes, you heard that right. After so many battles, countless deaths, billions spent, and civilian suffering, this is all that's left. It's not the only movement on the front, but it's the only place where the Russians have really made a visible advance. Elsewhere, the gains are minimal or non-existent. We're talking about an area of approximately 1,350 square kilometers. To give you an idea, that's about the size of the Slovak district of Nové Zámky. Just 0.2% of Ukraine's area. This is what Moscow calls a strategic victory. To be fair, let's repeat, there have been other smaller shifts too. But from the perspective of such an extensive front, they are either isolated or merely tactical. This is the only major and ongoing shift that has significantly changed the map in 2.5 years. After Russia's rapid advance and Ukraine's counteroffensives, the front largely stalled. For 2.5 years, the front lines have shifted only meters or kilometers, not by regions or captured towns. You could say Ukraine has gained even less, and that's true. But Ukraine is not the one attacking another country's territory. It's not the aggressor. It's defending itself. Russia started this war. Even more important, if Russian forces withdrew today, the war would end tomorrow. That's the key difference between an attacker and a defender. Aside from the invasion's early months, the Russians have made no strategic breakthroughs or captured any major Ukrainian city. Kherson was the only regional center they took in the invasion's first days. In November 2022, Ukrainians liberated it. And since then, not a single Moscow offensive has managed to break the Ukrainian defense. Not enough to cause chaos, panic, or widespread line collapse. The Ukrainians are retreating tactically along planned lines, but their defense isn't collapsing. And what's crucial is that so far Russia has not managed to break through these layers of defense in a way that would open up space for a deep breakthrough. No tank raids into Ukraine. No quick front collapses like in World War II, slowly gaining ground but unable to turn it into an operational advantage. This is solid proof that Ukraine is defending itself wisely, patiently, and with a sense of maneuver. That's why, even as Moscow gains territory, it's not winning, just prolonging the war to wear Ukraine down. That won't change, even if Pokrovsk, a key Ukrainian stronghold in Donbass, falls. The Russians have tried to capture it for months, and Ukrainians expect they'll likely lose it eventually. And so they already have lines prepared to which they will retreat from there. So when we ask, who is winning this war, we have to realize one thing. In the short term, maybe Moscow is making progress. But in the long run, gain of the Novy Zamki district, at the cost of hundreds of thousands of deaths, ruined cities, destroyed infrastructure, and economic despair for both sides. Ukraine is facing a record budget deficit, collapsing exports, and dependence on foreign aid. Russia profits from raw material sales, but investments are falling, the ruble is unstable, companies are exiting, and young people are emigrating. Inflation and interest rates are high, and both countries pay a steep economic price for every meter of territory. Gaining 1,350 square kilometers is not a victory. This is a desperate result for a war expected to end in days, but now lasting over 3 years. We're not done yet. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It'll help it reach more people. If you'd like to support my work, you can contribute through thanks. Thank you. Let's keep going. Who profits from war from the shadows? While Ukraine is bleeding and Russia is grinding its meat grinder, there are players who are watching this conflict from a distance, calculator in hand. Because every war has its shadow winners, and this is no exception. Iran, once semi-isolated, is now the main supplier of deadly weapons to the Russian army. The kamikaze drones that terrorize Ukrainian cities were made in Iranian factories. In return, Iran gained technology, money, and the illusion of a strategic partnership with Moscow. But then came the war against Israel, which also involved the United States, and Russia didn't lift a finger. No warning, no help, no satellites, no defense, no diplomatic cover. North Korea and Kim Jong-un's regime provide Russia with old but usable artillery ammo, and even their own soldiers. In return, it gains unique advantages: oil, technological help, and Russian expertise for its ballistic programs. North Korea is having an unexpected resurgence amid a foreign war, while China plays a more complex game. Officially neutral, indirectly it helps Russia evade sanctions, supplies technology, and benefits from cheap Russian oil. Meanwhile, it observes the West draining its stockpiles. For Beijing, this is a test war. How would NATO respond if it became involved in Taiwan? The United States also benefits, especially geopolitically. The war in Ukraine has caused Europe to firmly side with the United States of America again. Donald Trump also benefited from the raw materials agreement. Arms companies have record orders reminding the world why NATO exists. Conclusion: who is winning and why the answer doesn't exist yet. So who is winning the war in Ukraine? Right now, Russia has the advantage. It's advancing and driving the initiative. Ukraine is fiercely defending every village and field. But from a strategic point of view, it's a stalemate. The front is moving only minimally. The main Russian gain since the end of 2022 is territory the size of the Novy Zamki district, with huge losses and economic desperation. Ukraine is exhausted, lacking weapons, ammo, and people, and relies almost entirely on Western aid, technically, economically, and politically. If this aid stopped, the outcome of the war could change within a few weeks. While soldiers are dying on the front lines, geopolitics is thriving in the background. Some are selling weapons, some are testing reactions, and others are waiting to see which side prevails. For them, this war is an investment, not a tragedy. And maybe the most important answer is hidden right here. In this war, no one is really winning yet. No, not when we consider the cost. No, not for those who've lost homes, families, and their future. No, not if we ask what will happen next. War, even with a seeming winner, is like fire. It ignites fast but takes a long time to extinguish. And what remains is not triumph but ashes. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe so you don't miss upcoming content. You can support my work through gratitude, and if you want to help the video reach more people, click on praise. I appreciate it.